Hello there, Master Hellish here, and welcome to this review of the X4 Assault Quadcopter. Here it is in its box, so let's get it open. So, this is the Quadcopter. It's a tri-blade quadcopter, and it's got this nice big hull in the middle. As we'll see later, the battery pack is in the bottom, and it's got nice little cables sticking out that you can connect to the charger or to the quadcopter itself. It saves taking the battery in and out, but you can take the battery out, and that's quite easy to do so. But here we go. This is it here. It feels quite light, and it's got a nice bendy, flexible, protective frame around it as well. So there's only one thing really left to do, and that's get the controller out, get the batteries in it, charge it up, and give it a go. Okay, so here we are. We're outside. We're going to give this a good test. First things first, it's been charged. It took about half an hour to an hour. I think it was more like an hour because I wasn't watching it constantly. I was checking in on it. Took about an hour to charge. So we're going to pop that in there now. And the lights are all on. Let's try turning the controller on. Beeping. More beeping, and yeah, we're good. So I'm going to step to one side and let's give it a fly. Okay, so this quadcopter's got several modes on it. I'm going to switch to the more aggressive advanced mode now, which I feel is better for outdoors in the wind. It means you can, there we are, I see it's turning quicker now. God, it's a very blustery day. But you can see that even in this blustery day, I'm able to keep this quadcopter more or less where I want it, which is really astonishing. It flies fantastically. But really, to show you up exactly how smooth it is, we might have to take it inside. But that is how well it's flying in blustery winds. It's doing quite good. It's quite powerful. Let's see if I can land it. Not bad. Okay, so I've just brought it indoors. I've popped it down the coffee table just below shot, and let's power it up. Bring it in. And here we go. It's quite noisy, but you can see how slow and calm and stable this particular quadcopter is. Now it keeps moving because I'm not completely looking at what I'm doing. I'm looking at the camera as well. But I'm just going to try and get it to face off with the camera a little bit. So let me bring it right in for you to have a close look. You can change modes to make it easier, smaller adjustments. And there is really close there, bobbing up and down in front of your view. Just change it back to the more aggressive mode, and I'm going to see if I can get it to do a flip in the middle of the room. So if I can hover about there, yeah. Perfect, that works quite nicely. I'm going to do it again, if I can. I'm just watching the camera at the same time, make sure it's not out of sight for you guys. And there you are. It's even in this small space with the coffee table beneath and a lampshade above, both just out of shot, it's able to perform those tight moves in that tight space. And it was going slightly out of control there, so because of this tight space, and I just cut the power just to be on the safe side. But again, I always recommend, if you're learning with these outside on a day with no wind or extremely little wind, a very wide open space where there's going to be no dogs coming to eat it or any trees for it to fly into. This has already been in a tree once already when I was testing it for the first time. But yeah, as you can see, I'm able to control it around even this small space, and outside, even in high winds, with practice, it's not bad. Bearing in mind, this is my third quadcopter, so I have had a good bit of flight time with these things before. Well, that is pretty much it for the flying section of this review. I'm going to give it a little bit more of a go, and then we'll have a look at some scores. Well, that's the flying done. I'm going to put this on charge, but it's time to give it some scores. We'll talk about a bit more about the features and so forth, and how I find it as we go through the scores. So first things first, aesthetics. Does it look good? And simply, yes. Yes, I think it looks good. I think the shape of it is nice. I think the way that they've styled the middle section here with the fins at the back, the colours that they've chosen, it looks good. There is also, I think, a yellow version out, but they're quite rare. But this is great. I mean, it's the lights on the front, the lights on the bottom are quite cool. The blue and red flashing. I think it just generally looks really cool. And of course, it's a tri-rotor bladed quadcopter. So that also makes it look cool. I don't know why, it just does. Overall, I think it looks good. 8. Good design. Is it well designed? Well, I think it is quite well designed. One of the things about quadcopters is apparently the closer the centre of mass is to the middle, the better. The more it is spread out, the more wheeled it becomes. They've put the motors at a horizontal level with some gears in to allow the rotors to turn in this direction. And that is, I think, just due to the shape and size, but it also brings that in, brings the motor in, makes it neater, tidier, brings the centre of mass in. So that's good as well. So good design overall, and also another good thing to say about this is that it's compared to some quadcopters where you have to take the battery out to get it charged up. You can leave the battery in this one, connect that straight to your charger, charge it up, and then when you're done, disconnect it from your charger, and it just goes straight into that socket there. And as you can see, the lights are flashing away. And that is a good feature on the design. Of course, if you want to get the battery out, you can. It's very easy to do so. So design, good. 8. Features. I'm going to put that down to one side because a lot of the features are explained by looking at the controller, which, by the way, its design and aesthetics is also quite good. For features on this, it has got all the features that you'd expect from a quadcopter in terms of up, down, left, right, and rotational, clockwise and anti-clockwise. It has 2 flight modes, as I explained before briefly. The first one, when you pull the stick all the way across, it will tilt to a certain point. You change to mode 2 and that tilt becomes more violent. It allows you to do faster corrections in wind. It allows you to fly faster with a harder tilt and change direction quicker. Not so good if you're indoor. If you're indoor, probably want to keep it to the mode 1 unless you want to do lots of little quick movements. But it's good that it has the modes there for you to choose. And of course, learning is also good on mode 1. It also has this button here, which is a 360 flip, and unlike some where you just press the button and it just does a flip, this particular one you hold the button and you can press a direction you want it to flip in. Now you have to hold the button. In some devices you press, some quadcopters you press the button and then choose your direction. You have to hold it down and choose your direction with a solid press, and it does really, really well. We'll come to the actual performance later. A lot of these buttons down here, some of them do things, some of them don't. This is a fairly standard controller, but it allows you to trim and realign and readjust your quadcopter so that if it does start floating off to one side, you can trim it out and make sure that it doesn't. All the instructions for that are in the manual, and to be honest, not all quadcopters have this, and I think it's quite vital. So there's lots of trimming options, lots of adjustment options, and of course all the flight features. Very good features. 9, brilliant. Performance. The performance of the quadcopter itself. Now, in terms of how much you get out of your battery, it takes you just under an hour to charge, from my experience, and I timed it and I got 7 minutes and 50 something seconds. We'll call it 8 minutes. I got 8 minutes flight time out of this. Outside in the wind. Bearing in mind that when you're flying in the wind, the quadcopter is doing a lot more adjustments, a lot quicker. I think it takes up a bit more battery than if you were flying inside. So you may even be able to get more than 8 minutes out of this in the right conditions. But to me, 8 minutes is entirely adequate for one of these devices, and especially considering how small and lightweight they have to be with the small batteries, you're not going to expect to be running on this for hours. So that is really quite good. Its control in the air is one of the best that I've ever had, and the thing that really impresses me the most is its flips. I've seen some do flips. For example, the Q4 quadcopter, the really tiny one from Red5, is good at doing flips, but it's very small, so you wouldn't expect it to need much of a big space to do flips in. Other quadcopters I've flown before need quite a big space to do flips in. They recommend 3 meters of space, spherical space, for doing a flip in. It doesn't necessarily need it, especially if you put that flip in and immediately give it a power boost so it doesn't drop too much. And I've noticed if I've got it in good in the air, it can just do very tight flips, which allow you to do lots of different things. And so because of its performance, because of its really stable flight, because its ability to fly in even moderate wind, and because of its lovely tight turns, I'm giving it a 9 for performance. It really does perform really well. Ease of use. Is it easy to use? Not anybody can just pick this up and fly it. If you've had experience flying helicopters or other quadcopters, then yes, it is easy to use. So because of that kind of balance, it's not one of those things you can just pick up and go. You do need to practice, and if you're going to practice with a quadcopter, I recommend indoor with a lot of space and keeping it slow and low. Just practice going up and down and then backwards and forwards and just keeping it steady for a while, then start bringing in different things. Don't try and rotate it. When people very often, the first one of the things they try and rotate the quadcopter and then fly it off that way. Left becomes right, right becomes left, and they all get sorts of confused. Start with one direction first, keeping the quadcopter in one plane, and then advance from there. Maybe go outside on grass, in a big open space on a non-windy day, and then do that from there. Incidentally, do not take off from within the grass, because if grass goes through the rotor blades, that can cause problems. Either have it in your hand or on a nearby piece of pavement or a post or something. Anyway, so yeah, ease of use is going in the middle ground. It's going to have a nice, very good 7. Must-have factor. Quadcopters generally have a little bit of a must-have factor from my perspective. I think they're quite cool things. This one is overall quite cool. It's quite a good one. So I'm going to give it a very good must-have factor of 7. Innovation. Does this bring up anything new? To be honest, I think that there is a little bit of an iteration thing going on here. So you've got your horizontal motors with the gears in the tri-blades on the quadcopter actual rotors. It does seem to have a step up in innovation. Some of the larger quadcopters have these features already. However, this is the first time I've seen some of these features on a smaller one. So even though it isn't breaking any boundaries, it is starting to edge around and playing with these new features. So I'm going to give it a 7. Best in field. Is it the best in field? So we're talking in the category probably under the £50 mark in terms of quadcopters. You go over £50, you're starting looking at the ones with cameras on. You're starting to look at ones that can be controlled by computers and apps. In its price category, is it the best in its field? I think yes. It's certainly the best one I've flown. I've flown quite a few now. It's just really good control, really tight turns, really stable. Because of that and its 8-minute battery life, I think it is one of its best in field. 9. Value for money. Is it good value for money? To be honest, I would prefer it to be slightly cheaper than the £35 that it's down for in the store. However,
it is very good. So weighing those off together, I'm going to give it a very good 7. And bonus. Bonus points I want to give this, that I haven't been able to give it in any other category. I want to give this an extra 9 bonus points because I really do think this is a fantastic quadcopter. It really sits up there next to the Q4 in terms of, if I say, right, go out there, and somebody says, what quadcopter shall I buy for under £50, it would be this or the Q4. And to be honest, you'd probably be pretty good with either. If you want something that's going to be a little easier to control, something you're going to be able to see better outside and so forth, and then maybe this one just tips the edge. But remember, that Q4 is so little and cute. But yes, we're reviewing this one. 9 bonus points for this one, bringing it up to a grand total of 80. A very high score from me, bearing in mind that 70 is a very good sort of on the scale, and 100 is perfect. So it is on the perfect side of very good. Well, that's all from me. I think that's everything I have to say about the quadcopter. Its battery life, it looks good, flies well. Yeah, I think I've said it all. Well, if you want to know anything else, or if you have any ideas or suggestions or things you want to see reviewed, put it down in the comments section below and I'll have a chat with you or reply to your comment, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. But for now, that's all from me. Thank you very much for watching, and this has been the X4 Assault Quadcopter from Red5. Goodbye.